Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I'm about to introduce today our third speaker to the Great Northern Retail Forum in partnership with the Giftware Association. I'd like to introduce Jenny Spivey. Jenny has a retail background with both Harrods and John Lewis. Jenny has her own consultancy working with retailers, suppliers, and small businesses. Jenny has a tailor-made service which aligns all her clients to her personal requirements. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jenny Spivey.
Hello, everybody. Firstly, I have got a presentation which I'm going to go through with you rather than you perhaps taking notes. If you come and talk to me afterwards, I'm quite happy to share it with you. So if that helps. So I'm going to start off, hopefully, there we go. Delivering outstanding customer service, the way to a customer's heart. I think all of you would probably believe that you deliver good service, and I'm sure you do. But I think the difference when retailing is quite as difficult as it is whether you deliver good service or whether you deliver outstanding service. Chinese proverb says, a man or woman without a smiling face must not open a shop. A bit extreme, I think, in this day and age. But I do think that service is the be-all and end-all of a successful business. I've been lucky enough to work both in Harrods and John Lewis, where service is the lifeblood of their business. And John Lewis, it is the core of their reputation. And I'm sure many of you will have experienced good and bad service. And for me, outstanding service is how you take that service and perhaps turn it from a poor scenario into something much more successful. This is the full version of what Wikipedia says. It's the provision of service to customers both before, during, and after a purchase. But it's the perception of success of such interactions which is dependent on your employees, who can adjust themselves to the personality or situation of your guest. An organisation that values good customer service may spend more money in training employees than the average organisation, or may proactively interview customers for feedback. This is the important thing for me. One good customer service experience can change the entire perception a customer holds towards the organisation. My husband and I both enjoy eating out. I'm sure many of you do, and it's an experience that doesn't come at a cheap price these days. So we've had a couple of occasions where we've gone out to some gastropubs. And gastropubs always advertise the fact that they do spectacular food. Well, I would advise anybody where their service is concerned that never advertise something that you're not going to deliver. And in both cases, my husband, unfortunately, had poor food. But in both cases, again, actually, at the end, we left a tip for good service. The food was replaced, the food was refunded, and it was all dealt with without any qualms or arguments. And I think it is the way that a situation is dealt with that can make the difference between a good experience and a bad experience. It won't change the fact that you didn't like the food, but it will make you leaving a little bit happier. And why is it so important? It's really the increasing competition from the business with an omni-channel presence. It makes independents have to work that much harder for their livelihoods. It makes the difference between you are having to offer that point of difference. So just opening the doors is no longer enough. It's often the main reason why customers still come and shop with you as opposed to buying online. I do a lot of shopping online, but if I want something and I want to choose something that's special, if I want something where I think service is important, where I think knowledge of product is important, there is no other place I will go to than to the shop itself. You can't get away from touching the feel, the look, and the overall presentation of the product. And the personality and engaging with the person who's looking after me becomes so important. It becomes a vital part of your marketing. Good or bad service can be transmitted so quickly. You can have worked years to build a reputation, and it can take minutes to be destroyed. Social media, as we all know, can be a dangerous tool if not used appropriately, and you want it to work for you, not against you. Customers' demands are ever increasing and their loyalty is decreasing. You have to work so much harder to show them that doing business with you is very important. You can no longer take it as just as an assumption. Leave with this. Everybody will give you endless analysis about target customers, who they are, the profile, what you should look for. At the end of the day, it boils down to this. The customer wants to know, what does it do and what does it do for me? Actually, that's it, in a nutshell, at the end of the day. They're coming out to spend their precious budget and they want to know exactly what it does and what it's going to do for them. So some top tips for service excellence. Be an expert in your assortment and stock holding. If you can't smile and you don't have the necessary personality, you can win any customer over if you know what you're talking about. My husband comes up frequently. I took a very disgruntled husband down to buy a new mattress. He didn't really see the point of coming, and he thought the whole thing was a bit of a waste of time. He was enthralled by the level of expertise that came from the service personnel who sold us the mattress, and ended up thinking that it was a jolly good experience, and we're just waiting for delivery. And I am convinced that we purchased a much more expensive mattress because of the knowledge that this particular young lady had. You need to treat every customer as someone special and with respect. And I'll come on to this in a minute. And don't try to hoodwink your customers with incorrect information or false promises. I'm sure we've all been caught on the hop and trying to get ourselves out of a bit of an awkward situation, or we don't know. But you can only focus on building that trust, and you will only engage your customer if you actually treat them with the respect and you're honest with them. Be able to be flexible in your approach. I'm sure many of you have tried dealing with customers where it doesn't matter what you say and what you do, you don't seem to be getting through. All I can say to you is that you do have to just try different styles and different approaches. You don't know what sort of day that customer has had, but something will win through. You just, one sort of style of service just doesn't fit everybody. And show a willingness and enthusiasm to satisfy whatever that customer wants. The customers will believe in you, but you have to show that in your body language. You have to show that in your smile and in your level of confidence. Please, I urge you, whatever you may wish to do or whatever sort of day you're having, resist the urge to argue with the customer. You might have some small satisfaction in telling the customer exactly where they might like to walk out of the shop or how, and the potential damage to your reputation on customers as a result of that is just endless. And as I say, small satisfaction but long-term regret. Do have the patience to persevere with your customer. Take the ups and downs of selling in your stride, and you will find that other opportunities do present themselves. Doing what I do in my business, I constantly spend my time networking and talking to people. And I'm very often on the end of non-answered emails and non-answered texts. So I constantly have to turn and be flexible in my approach. And from that, and talking to lots of people, opportunities very often do present themselves. I think it's really important, and when I was buying at John Lewis and when I talk to retailers, I always say to people, focus on the people and the customers that you have. It's very easy to always be looking for the new and the next and the different. And it's so easy to lose the customers that have been loyal to you over the years by not taking enough attention or just assuming that they are going to stay with you. And I do think this gives you a strong foundation in that case to then be able to move forward and see other opportunities to evolve. I apologise if these are slightly grainy. I'm sure we all know this image, this famous image of appalling customer service where an assumption was made wrongly. And I see it so often. I really do, where people customers walked in and people have summed them up and decided who they are and what they're probably like, and no, they're not likely to buy. And what a huge mistake that is. Billy Smart once walked into the circus, family head of the circus business. He walked into the Rolls-Royce showroom in Berkeley Square and they threw him out as a tramp. He went somewhere else and bought a suite of Bentleys and Rolls-Royces for his family. If in your hometown or wherever you are, if I said to you, or it was announced that Beyonce was coming into your local town, would be spending a day and would probably be shopping along the high street and would definitely be calling in to your store, how many of you would think very carefully about what your store looked like? Would you suddenly make changes? Would you suddenly import perhaps fresh flowers? Would that fresh coffee suddenly go on? Would you get the sparkle out and go round and make sure you hadn't got any dust? George who? If he walked in, would you tailor it differently? Would your service be slightly different? If you get the opportunity, do try and look at somebody called Jeff Ram, who does exceptional, outstanding speaking on celebrity service. And he says that if we treated all our customers as though they were celebrities, we would make very definite changes to the way that we serve our customers. So, let me ask you some questions. Do you have a loyalty program to encourage repeat purchasing? Now, this may be relevant to some and not to others, and obviously this presentation is for all sorts of businesses. I have my nails done whenever I can. It's a treat, it's a luxury, and I always go to the same place. 5th time, I get £5 off my treatment. It's not very much, but it keeps me loyal in the locality where I am, where nail bars are sort of 10 a penny. Coffee shops. I tend to go to the same chain of coffee. I like the coffee, and also after 10 cups, I get a free one. People still look out for coupons. So I do think a loyalty and a recognition that somebody is going to come back and make that repeat purchase. It's easy to make the one-off purchase. It's very hard to get them to come back. Have you built up a database so that you can communicate with your customers? I do think it's really important that you constantly remind your customers who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. Tell them about upcoming events and promotions, and more importantly, you're here in Harrogate to buy new stock. Are you going to tell the customers about it? Are you going to tell them when there's something new? Don't drown them. I cannot bear having daily emails. It's the quickest way to make me unsubscribe as possible. But I do think that regular updates, just to constantly remind me that they are the shop that I should be going to, is important. Do you offer some form of gift wrapping service? I don't think this means that you dress it up in bows and ribbons, but I do think it means that your packaging, which is also a part of the identity of your brand, is really key. And if you made that parcel just that extra little bit special at Christmas time, so that actually, not necessarily for family and loved ones, but for people that you give some of those extra gifts to at that time, where actually a beautifully wrapped bag and something that looks a bit special can just be passed straight on. I do think the whole piece on your bags and your labels and tags is important. You know, something that actually gives your brand, gives the identity, where to find you if you've got a website, reminds them of how to contact you, tells them what social media you're on, and actually walks around the high street or wherever you are with a very nice gift bag in their hands is a good form of advertising for you. And then depending on your business, do you provide that complimentary refreshment whilst the customer is browsing. Newspapers for the companion patiently waiting always go down well. I'm going to just mention, just recently, my aunt turned 90. And she has waited forever for my cousin to decide to get married. And he is finally getting married at the end of August. So we took her down to a local ladies' wear shop near to where we live. And she was treated as though she was the other special lady who was celebrating her 90th birthday this year. They could not have done more. She is suffering from mild dementia, her mobility is poor, and her hearing even worse. But they treated her as a star. They brought every kind of dress and outfit to her. Jackets suddenly appeared, scarves, jewellery, and before we knew it, we were walking out with a very hefty bill. She was in the dress that she did finally buy. She was then treated to tea and cake with her feet up on a stool so she could rest midway through. There was no question as to whether she could have this wearing the dress that she hadn't yet purchased. And the service was so good and the experience was so wonderful for her that extra dress that she totally didn't need was purchased the following day. And as I say, it was outstanding service because the team there went that extra mile. So, do you encourage a loyal customer through your support? Do you get involved in your local projects and affairs? And how involved are you in the community? Do you acknowledge the need to be up to speed on social media? Do you keep in daily touch? If you've got a youngster working with you, you know, they are so quick on it these days. And it's to be encouraged, I think, because the more you can get out there and raise your profile, the better. Are any... Oh, I've gone on, sorry. Are you in the position to offer any of the following? Again, I don't know your individual businesses, but it is really important, you know, if, again, going back to that celebrity, and they were only staying in the hotel in your town that night, would you offer to deliver the goods to their hotel? Would you have made special efforts with them on the packing? Would you have offered to do some special or bespoke orders for them? Does your business involve repairs and the after-sales service, which I think is so important? Do you give a no-fuss, no quibble guarantee? And again, we've talked about the loyalty scheme. And all this, if this is your business, is only as good as the staff that you have with you. If you invest in your staff, your return will be tenfold. They are all individuals, so it's up to you to bring them together as a team. Training and coaching, whilst time-consuming, ensures that they are delivering and must deliver to the standards that you set. You have to lead by example. If you set the standard from the get-go, it also sets a good benchmark when it comes to their annual appraisals. And if their overall performance doesn't meet it, you're on much safer ground to start the necessary measures to either get their to get their work level up to scratch and where it needs to be, or to take the necessary disciplinary measures. You must communicate effectively with your team. They are not mind readers. They should understand what your business is about and what your aims and objectives are. I think it's really important that they have some idea as to the sort of sales that you're expecting them to make. Set them some targets, give them some incentives, and make them feel engaged and a part of the business that you own. And together, team, together everyone achieves more. I'm hoping that, as I say, some of this might be useful in terms of training and spending a bit of time. Do you manage to have staff meetings? Is there a time when you can pull your staff and your team all together so that your objectives are very clear and everybody is working with you and understanding what you want them to deliver? You will only do that if you communicate effectively and preferably as a team. Do you organise some socials? It's up to them whether they attend or not, but I think you need to go that extra mile and show them and reward them for the work that they are hopefully delivering for you. And I do believe that there are certain customer service skills which are important. They must master these if they're going to interface with their customers. Without them, the business runs the risk of finding itself as an embarrassing customer service train wreck, or simply just losing your customers as your service continues to let people down. So I believe they need the following. Patience. It's very important to customers who are talking to you, possibly with inquiries, problems, or requests. Great service does beat fast service. But again, you have to adjust that to the customer who comes in. If they actually, all they want is good service and as quickly as possible, then you have to adapt your style accordingly. Attentiveness, the ability to really listen to customers is crucial in providing a great service. You have to clear your mind from all the things that you think you should be getting on with and the things that you know need doing, and you need to listen not only to what the customer is telling you, but also to what the customer isn't telling you and what you may have to glean from them. Communication. It's a word that is used frequently and is used so badly in so many cases. And it really is the route to success, because all relationships hinge on it if they're to flourish. I think it's as important to relay bad news as it is to relay good news. In fact, I probably think it's more important to relay bad news quicker. It diffuses the whole situation. You're telling the customer honestly. You're talking to them, and before they can get to a point where they want to start shouting at you. And you do your best to communicate to them as to how you're going to put it right. Product knowledge. It's something that I feel very strongly about. My husband believes in the whole experience of going to a restaurant or eating out, enjoying the food and drink, and enjoying good banter with the waiters and waitresses. He has an exceptionally dry sense of humour, and as such, it's only really appreciated by some, and even better if they join in. For me, it's about the experience as a whole and the product knowledge. I like to understand the experience that I'm having. I want to know what the food is about. I like to engage with the waiters and waitresses and find out what their opinion is, what food has been really good, and if there's anything that they can recommend. I think if I go into a shop, I like to be acknowledged. Acknowledgement for me is absolutely key as I walk in the door. I don't want somebody rushing over and grabbing my arm, but I do want somebody to recognise the fact that I have walked in. I like to browse and then be approached and asked if I want some help. And the people that have that product knowledge, even if I don't necessarily want the product, I can't help but be drawn in and engaged. And it might not be that product, but it might well be something else, because once I believe that they know what they're talking about, then I can't help but believe and have some trust in the rest of what their offer is. And I believe in a positive language. So I've put up two examples, or I will put up two examples. So, the first one, we haven't got that product in black until next month. It's on back order, unavailable at the moment. So it's a negative, and a negative. Or, that product in black will be available next month. You've told the customer exactly when it's coming in, so they know. I can place the order for you right now, so you're going that extra mile, and make sure that it is sent to you as soon as it comes in, or we can call you. A good opportunity for you then to communicate with that customer and engage in a longer lasting relationship. Alternatively, we can offer it in other colours. So black might not be the only colour that I'm interested in, and I might be persuaded to buy something else. So is saying the same thing, exactly the same thing, but in a very different style. Service with a smile. Every great customer salesperson will have the basic skills to maintain their usual cheery personality. Don't forget, most of your customers, a lot of your customers, won't be the happiest people on this planet. So it really is down to you to perhaps try and change that. Problem solving. If you don't know the problem, how many times have you been somewhere where somebody doesn't know the answer, and as opposed to just being honest, comes out with every excuse known to man, and actually the whole thing starts to just deteriorate and go downhill even faster? Don't blag, just find somebody, explain you don't know. I don't know everything, and very often I'm asked things and I say, I really don't know, but I will go and find out. And empty words, never promise what it's not in your power to deliver. And I go back to the food experience again. So, sales pitch. I personally think one good salesperson is worth two very average ones. And I think if you have to pay a little bit more for somebody who is not only going to sell, engage the customer with your brand, knows your stock inside out, and is totally committed to what they do, has got to be worth somebody who just turns up and does what you ask them. They respond rather than be proactive. And I think, as I say, it really is important that the sales pitch is not necessarily about the customer necessarily buying from you today. What you're doing is perhaps a journey. It's the customer didn't buy today, but actually that service has been so good that the next time they really do want to purchase, they will come back, they will return. But meantime, you have to leave them with that compelling message that you are the people that they should be shopping with. So whether they're buying from you today or buying from you tomorrow, it is about the compelling message that you deliver. Tenacity. I've talked a little bit about that with your staff. It is about a great work ethic. You know, I don't love all the honey treatment and have a good day when I go to the States, but I do see people over there who believe that their jobs are worthwhile, who are very committed and understand that being passionate about what they do, it is the norm. It isn't an exception. It is absolutely the norm over there. And I think that putting that extra effort in really does bring its rewards for you and them. And it is the relationship, the building relationship with your customers and forming that trust, which will eventually bring you that higher degree of loyalty. I've just got a quote at the end. Those who don't seek to improve what they do, whether it's selling products, marketing your business, or helping customers, will totally get left behind by the people willing to invest in these skills. Just the last part of my talk. I'm going to talk a little bit about complaints. I'm going to talk about this first. I'm missing a page here. So please, it's a lovely training exercise, so you can share it with your team. Please, the power of saying yes. You may not be able to say yes to everything, and yes might look rather different to what they originally wanted, but yes means a willingness to look for ways to help your customer. L, listen and take the time to identify the customer needs by asking questions and engaging them and concentrating on what the customer is really saying. E, execute what you have agreed and communicate effectively. If you do that and you do nothing else, you will be a long way down the road. A goes back to what I was saying earlier. Acknowledge and welcome customers right from the start. S, service and solution seekers are two of the main customer groups who will be shopping with you. So service seekers are people probably like myself. I am completely useless with DIY. I am completely useless with anything that requires a degree of practicality in putting things together. So for me, service is very important, and somebody, again, telling me what I want and what it's going to do for me. Solution seekers are people that come in and have very specific requests, or it's something that they have a definite, this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for, and I'm looking for you to provide me with that solution. So if you try and work out in your mind, there is another strong target customer, or a strong band of customers, and they are the people that are passionate about shopping. So they love the brands, they love product, they love the new season's trends, and everything to do with the whole shopping experience is key. So if you can, start to think in your mind what sort of customers you have, because generally they will fall into one of those three groups. And E is exceed all customer expectations by going that extra mile. Be totally recommended as the only shop that people should go to buy their product. So, complaints handling. I think it's really important, and I know I've said it and I don't apologise for it, because we all do have complaints. And I'm focusing on complaints a little bit more because I do think this is a key time where you can excel. Your customer service can go from the good to the exceptional. So acknowledge the customer's feelings. So say something like, I'm sorry you feel that way, or I'm sorry you're having difficulties. So immediately the customer thinks, oh, there's a degree of empathy here. Even if you didn't feel you caused the problem, the customer wants to know that you feel a little bit on their side. Nip the complaints in the bud as quickly as possible. Avoid escalation. Have you ever been in that situation where you've got a small problem, then something else goes wrong, and then gradually it just goes from bad to worse because actually you really didn't nip it right in the bud very, very quickly? Look for damage limitation and a customer who will then compliment you on a situation well handled. They won't still be happy about whatever the problem is, but at least they can't complain that the service wasn't strong and that you didn't look after them. If a solution is possible, then tell the customer, but you must be careful not to build up false hopes or commit to something that can't be delivered. And lastly, keep the customers informed all the way along the journey. It just takes so much heat out of the situation. I'm lucky enough to travel a fair amount, and my favourite airline is British Airways. It's my national airline, and I have some ridiculous notion that if I was ever somewhere and I got into trouble and got stuck, then my national airline would bring me safely home. Ridiculous, I know, and I'm sure all of you have got your own feelings and preferences as to who you like to fly with. Do I think British Airways deliver good service? Yes, I do. Do I think they deliver outstanding service? No, I don't. And the reason I don't is that actually they're very formal. So they'll look after you, they'll do exactly what they're supposed to do, but I always get the feeling that they probably won't go that extra mile. And I don't feel that there's a huge degree of personality there. If I want personality, I'll generally find it more with Virgin Airways. I like their tone, I like their style. Do I think their service is exceptional? No, I don't. And I think you probably have to go further east if you want to find exceptional service when you fly. It's quite an interesting conversation to have with your friends and family, and I'm sure everybody will have their own view. But I think it is always trying to find people who will say, we deliver good service. Yes, but do they deliver outstanding service? Is it that memorable experience that you will take to a dinner party, that you will talk about to your friends and family, and most of all would strongly recommend that they used? So, just going back, Bill Gates says, your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. And then Benjamin Franklin says, remember not only to say the right thing in the right place, but it's far more difficult still to leave unsaid the wrong thing at the tempting moment. And haven't we all been there? And I like this one. Customers don't expect you to be perfect, but they do expect you to fix the things when they go wrong. And lastly, we should never forget that it is actually the customer who in the end determines how many people sellers can employ and what sort of wages they can afford to pay.